Hey everybody, this is Jim from Tech Lovin'. It's been a long time since I've done a video, but I've been busy. So, what is Tech Lovin'? I build custom gaming computers where everything is manually tuned from the CPU to the memory. I don't use XMP, everything's manually tuned. So it takes me quite a while, probably a full day to tune memory. So it's fully stable, and the CPU, probably a full day. So anyway, today we've got an overclocking video. This is an i7 8700K. And it is on a Asus ROG Strix Z370-H gaming motherboard. So it's going to be a quick video on overclocking, how you do that with the 8700K. It's a really good chip. It's a great chip, actually. It's a great gaming chip. To this day, it's still a great gaming chip. Oh, something fell. No. I'm on air cooling on this motherboard. And I'll just show you really quickly here. I'm just going to get rid of a little bit of light. There we go. That's gotten darker, and I'm just gonna, so all of my videos are unedited. I do them from start to finish, mainly because I don't have time to edit videos. I don't have the time or the inclination to figure it out. So they are live. I guess you could say they're live, although YouTube won't let me do the live stuff for whatever reason. I don't know. Haven't figured that out. Not about to figure it out anytime soon. So I just record them and upload them, and we're done there. So I'm gonna grab my stand here that I bought for my iPad. It's pretty awesome because it's stable. I don't have to put them on a bunch of books anymore or a bunch of motherboard boxes. So I'm just gonna move you over to here. Now we're gonna move a bit. Yeah, this is the dungeon. This is my basement. Yeah, that's what my desk looks like, unfortunately. Pretty bad. Cool little monitor right there. I got that. It's just a portable monitor. It's quite nice because my screens are a little bit far away from me. I do have arms that I haven't installed yet. So I use this as a second monitor, or a third, or a fourth. As you can see, I have multiple monitors when I'm overclocking or when I'm configuring machines. And that just helps where I can track my temperatures at the same time as my temperatures, my voltages, etc., etc. So this is the motherboard we're on right now. Yeah, that's just the way I have it set up on the bench. It's Hyper 212 air cooling. Although I have an AIO that's eventually going to go on this. It's just I just have R9 on here, and it's just a placeholder for now. It's going to get a 3060 Ti. I have 32 gig of RAM, and that's somewhere over here. There you go. It's G-Skill Trident C, 32 gig of RAM. i7 8700K, like I said, and the Asus motherboard. So I'll put you back there now. I do use like these are wonderful little things, little 2.5-inch drives, and I just have a SATA cable, USB to SATA. So I have a lot of my software on there. There's just for testing more than anything else. What have I built recently? I got an i3 10100 just as a budget gamer. Although it does have a 1080 Ti in it, which is pretty good. Take you over here. This is 11600K that I'm working on. Down on the floor over there, that is a 5900X. And then over here Right there is a 5800 X3D as the stuff I'm working on right now. It's a little bit of a mess down here, but I'm so busy. I've gotten so busy. What started out as just a hobby, build a few computers for people, etc., etc., has turned into a business. Yeah, which I never expected it to. I wanted to do a video too because I am actually going back to work soon. So I only work 8 months of the year because I live in the southern Arctic. Well, not really the southern Arctic, that is Canada. I'm from Brandon, Manitoba, by the way. All right, so let's get on with it. And I'll give myself a little bit of light here again. Hopefully I'm not producing much glare. A little bit on the screen, eh? Well, let's do it this way. Let's not produce any glare because I can see some on the screen. So how about we do that? We'll let the screen produce its own light, or most of it anyway. All right, so we're in Windows. This is in Windows 11 Professional. And now we're going to reboot. And I'll show you. I'm just going to put my mouse on my leg because it's easier. Because I have no room on the desktop, as you earlier saw. Okay. So let's restart. I really should. I'm going to. Put on my glasses. There we go. Yeah, you're not going to see me because I'm not actually going to show my face because I have bad hair today. Okay, so let's go to a restart. I was actually looking at my little tiny screen here. So we're going to spam the delete key. And that's going to bring us into the BIOS. Like I say, it's an Asus BIOS. So there's our beep. Splash screen, and there's our BIOS. So we're in the main BIOS here. If we press the F7 key, it's going to take us to the expert mode, which is where we want to be. So I've already tested this. Already had it set up a little bit, not a hell of a lot, but a little bit. So this is our main screen. Just gives us our system language, our system date, system time. Security, not much in there. So we're going to go over to our AI tweaker. I do have XMP enabled. I have 32 gig in here. It's, as you can see, it's only DDR4 2400. But I'll just go down, I'll scroll down a bit, and I'll show you my B clock frequency set at 100, 133. So the RAM is at 133. And right now I'm running 3 gigahertz on the RAM, so it's overclocked to 3 gigahertz. And I just really started, I just did a quick little overclock on the RAM. I'm at 1.35 volts. So it's stock, even with the XMP setting, is only 1.2 volts. At 2400, I have it set at 1.35. Nothing wrong with that. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine up to 1.4 or 1.45. But I try not to go above 1.4 with my overclocks on RAM. And my timings on the RAM, just to look at that. So I'm running CL17, 17-17-34. Everything else is on auto, as you know, so I haven't tuned the RAM yet. If I was to tune the RAM, then all of these settings you see on the left of the where it says auto, I would change these. So if I wanted to set that what it is now, that's what I would put it at. Go back to auto, just press A. So I would set all of these timings, which are the primary timings. These are these right here, the secondaries, and the tertiary timings, and then the RTLs and the IOLs. And they should populate there in a minute. Yeah, okay. So these are the RTLs and the IOLs. So this is all the tuning. So I tune all of these timings when I get to tuning. Right now, nothing is tuned other than the memory frequency and the voltage. That's all I've adjusted so far. So let's go back. We can press escape, or we can just go with this arrow here, but we'll press escape, and that brings us back to the previous menu. So let's go over the settings here. So we've gone over the XMP. Oh, usually your B clock frequency normally would be 100, correct? You can set it at 100, or you can set it at auto. I always set it slightly higher because it always goes to about 99.8 or something like that. So I'll just set it at 100.2 for now. Normally wouldn't do this, but you can fine tune this after. B clock spread spectrum I have disabled. Multi-core enhancement I have disabled because we're overclocking. SVID behavior, you can leave that on auto. It doesn't really matter what you put here because we're gonna bypass that or overclock, so we're gonna end up disabling it in a later menu. AVX instructions, you should always really set an offset. AVX introduces more heat, more voltage into the system, so we normally set an offset 1 or 2. In this case, I only have the offset set at 1. So because we're overclocking, we're going to sync all of our cores. So if I was to change this from 48 to 47, it changes all the cores below it to 47 because they're all synced. So let's just put it back where it was at 48. We talked about the B clock frequency. Odd ratio I have enabled because I'm 100 to 133. Otherwise, I wouldn't get 3072. I'd get 3000. This is, like I said, this is an Asus BIOS. Yours might look a little different, but a lot of times they have the same thing. They might call it something different. This one you can actually use an overclock tuner if you want. I don't want to do that. I want to do it manually. And here you can load a 5G overclock, 5 gigahertz overclock profile if you wanted to. See if it would do 5 gigahertz. SVID support, like earlier, we've disabled this because we are not going to use it. This is the behavior. So it doesn't matter what we had this SVID behavior set at because we disabled it down here. That's not going to have any effect. My DRAM timings, right? We went through that. Okay, load line calibration. I have mine set at level 4. You can go up to level 7. I have mine set at level 4, so there'll be a little more V-droop. So our voltage will droop down. Current capability is set at maximum, whatever it can go up to, which is 140. Switching frequency manual, taking advantage of the board. It's a good board, so I have this set at the max, which is 500. Power duty cycle, you can set it at T-probe or extreme. This is more T-probe is more temperature related. It'll set the buck controller based on thermals. I have it set on an extreme. Power phase control, you have standard and extreme. I have it set on standard. And thermal control I've left to auto. Down to internal CPU power management. So speed step, I have it disabled. And that just support, because we're running one frequency here. And it doesn't matter what your voltage is at frequency when your system is idle. It's not doing anything, so there's no stress on this. So if it's at 1.43 volts, it doesn't really matter. It depends what the current is under load more than anything else. So we have our terminal mode set to enabled. This we just maxed out, so if we can put whatever number we want out here, it's going to max out at 4095. We've left time window, so the long duration and short duration we've set up 4095 or maxed it out. Everything else we just left it on auto. Didn't do anything with the F clock frequency for early power on. Current limit, we've got this maxed out also, which is that is our max. Sometimes it's 255.50. Red down the bottom here, it can be set to maximum value of 255.75 to prevent thermal throttling when overclocking, or throttling when overclocking. So we'll set it back at 255.75. Ring down bin, we've left on auto. We could disable this so it doesn't, the CPU won't lower the ring ratio. But we have it set on auto, and or sorry, if it was enabled, the CPU will down bin the ring ratio, which means it won't be adhered to, whatever you set in here. We have it set on auto. We've set our minimum and max core ratio at 44. What's the default? 40? 41? I can't remember. We have it set at 44. Sometimes when you have overclocking instabilities, you can lower it. What you can do is just start low. Not sure what auto is, but you can start low and then slowly raise it up and stress test. B clock adaptive voltage we have disabled. And our core voltage, we have it set to manual mode on the voltage. You've got multiples, you've got offset mode, auto. I don't like offset mode. So we've set our core voltage at 1.33 volts. There's our DRAM voltage we talked about earlier. I'll probably raise that up to 1.4 and see how far I can go. So VCC-IO and system agent we have set at 1.125 volts. System agent, I wouldn't go above 1.15. You can see it's going to go yellow. And VCC-IO 1.1. I have it set at 1.125. And everything else I think we have set on auto. Go over to the advanced tab. You can see up at the top. Going over to the advanced, we go to the CPU configuration. And we can go all the way down to the bottom. We have hyper-threading enabled, thermal monitor enabled. All our processor cores are active. Intel virtualization technology, we have that disabled. You should always have that disabled, unless you're running a virtual machine. CPU power management control, speed step disabled. And that just supports more than 2 frequency ranges. Turbo mode enabled. C states we have disabled. So it's not going to throttle down or go to C states when it's not 100% utilized. And speed shift we have disabled. So that's how we have it set up. And that's about it. Our QFan configuration. So you want to go into your fans and set them at whatever you want. 4-pin PWM mode, 3-pin will be DC mode, or you can just set them at auto. I have my lower speed limit set at 400 RPM. That's as low as my fan will go. And I have my fan profile set at turbo. I don't have any chassis fans. Well, I have one chassis fan really set up on this computer right now. And I'll set up my AIO pump control when I put the AIO on. Other than that, everything's the same. I do have my overclock profile set here as profile 1. And I'm just pressing the escape key to go back. Okay, so I'm going to save changes and reset. Probably didn't make any changes, which is okay. But this is how you do it. Now, if you have a problem, it doesn't boot. Hopefully you have an overclock, a board that recovers. And we'll just tell you to press F1 because it couldn't boot. If you change memory timings, it may take a while for it to boot because it needs to train the memory. Otherwise, if you have a board that won't recover, then you look in your motherboard manual, motherboard book, you've got a clear CMOS. You clear CMOS with power off. Computer's not running. Put it on the clear CMOS jumper. Sometimes there's just 2 pins. So you just got to find it. Put the jumper on the 2 pins for 5 to 10 seconds. Take it off and then restart. And it should either bring you into the BIOS or say that the CMOS has been the BIOS has been reset, and to go into the BIOS and you can reset your setting. That's why we go into let me just get out of here. That's why we save after we have an overclock profile. We save it just so we can go back in and we can just reload it, right? Makes it easy. Okay. Oh, okay. So we're going to reboot again. I got my coffee, I got my smoker, I'm all good. Okay, so we're back in Windows. So now we're going to do a stability test because we do want to do that. Sorry, I'm going to put this on my leg here. Got no room. For this, I just have a hardware monitor. Another one you can use is hardware info. I thought hardware info was giving me some erroneous information, so I downloaded hardware monitor and I'll use that. I'll also open CPU Z here. Hello, there it is. Now I'm going to move these to my other screen here. No, I'll leave them here. Now we're just going to open. Now we're not going to do a full stress test here. But Cinebench is pretty easy to use with this. It'll crash if it's unstable. So we're just going to use Cinebench. Otherwise, we'd use OCCT or Prime 95, where we'd do a longer stress test. Once we kind of have everything set and we think, okay, we're good, so we'll try that. And if we get some instability on those and the crash, then we're going to have to either go and raise our voltage. Be careful with voltage. If you have an AIO, you can go up a little higher than on an air if you're air cooling. But if you have a good air cooler like a Noctua, that's almost equivalent to an AIO in my mind. In my test, with the systems I've built, I think the Noctua cooler is a great cooler. So anyway, but yeah, be careful with your voltages. 1.35 is more than enough for an overclock, because there is a point where you're going to get so high without a problem, and then to get that next 100 megahertz, all of a sudden you're putting a pile of voltage into it, and what's the use? Why bother? Right? Because it's too much voltage, too much heat. So we'll just start here on Cinebench. I should have set this to and so So in the BIOS we had it set at 1.33. So with our V droop we're at 1.264, 1.265. Because we have an AVX offset set, we're at 48, but we're running at 4700 megahertz because Cinebench uses the AVX. And I still get these, hardware monitor does show our voltage. I don't use hardware monitor that much, so I get confused by it here. VCore 1.264, so it matches what we're getting on CPU Z. Although we have another, and our package right now is at, here we have our Vid Max here that's showing 1.36. That's a little bit confusing for me. So our package power right now, 129, 130 watts. And we're at 72 degrees. I'm going to move this over. So I'm going to show you, so when I started, here is the, oh, it's hard to do with it on your leg. Oh, that's the 7700K. So 8975 was our score, our overclock score. And previous to this, the original one, which I don't have here, I thought I did, but I don't, was around a little bit more than the 7700K. I was in around the 8,000 mark. And now we're almost 9,000. So we can set this to 30 minutes to test stability. There, that works a little better on the counter. Oh, we're just going to start this. I got a little table beside me, so that works a little better for the mouse. I'll just bring this one over to my other screen here. I'm just going to let it run a little bit so we can see what our package power is up to. So we're running at 4700 megahertz on our core, and I believe our on-core ring is at 44. Doesn't really show me on hardware monitor. But I think I uninstalled HW Info. Yes, I did. Somehow I closed it. So we'll just let that run for a little bit. And I'll give you an idea from this side. Yeah, so 4710, 4.7 gigahertz. Package power, 130 watts. And our package temperature right now is 72, which is really good. 72, 73 on air at 4.7, 4.8 gigahertz. So, and that's a result, 1.264 volts, so under load. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. But even to get to 49, I have to put too much voltage into it. So I'm kind of here at 4.7, all core. So that's what we're running all the time. So it doesn't matter what our voltage is when we're idle, but under load is what's the important part. was running 2.64 volts under load. So that's pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that. So like I say, if you have instability, you're just going to raise your voltage slightly. Try not to go above 1.35. Set your load line calibration, level 4, somewhere in the middle. You can set it higher than that if you want, which means you're going to get less droop under load. It's not going to droop as far. Set your voltage on static voltage, no more than 1.35. Yeah, set it not an adaptive voltage. Don't use adaptive. Just use a static voltage, and set it at 1.35. I wouldn't go above 1.35, and then you can, if you have stability, you can lower it from there. You can go to 1.34, 1.33. See what you can get away with on less voltage. Run a stability test. Run Prime 95 or run OCCT. Let it run. You can run Prime 95 for 3 or 4 hours. See if you get any reboots or anything like that, because you've got the system under 100% load for that entire time. If it's perfectly stable, you're good. And if you want to try for more, try for more. See what you can get. Not every CPU is created equal. So, like I say, this is the 8700K. Intel, I wouldn't buy anything but K chips. Unfortunately, I don't always buy K chips. I got a couple of F chips here, and you just can't do anything with them. No, they're good chips. You just can't do anything with them. I wish Intel would unlock everything like AMD does. Just unlock them. It's already purchased by the users, so we should be able to do what we want with our CPUs. And if we blow it up, we blow it up. Just don't have any warranty. That's all. Unless it's dead when you buy it, which I had. I had a 12100 potato CPU that was dead. No heat at all coming from the CPU. So, anyway, yeah, if you have any questions, just leave a comment or whatever. And there's another video on this where he's doing close to, I don't think he's doing the 7700K, it's another one, but he might be doing the 8086 or something, but it's very good. I just can't remember who it is. He's like a British guy or something. He's very good. Anyways, he's done one on this also. He got his to like 52, 5.2 gigahertz. Yeah, I can't even get there, but I'm on air too, so we'll see. We'll see once I put the liquid cooler on, see if it's any better. Anyway, Jim from Tech 11. Have a great day, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.